Welcome back to the Prosperous Life Podcast, everyone. Thank you so much for showing up today. It is my goal, as well as my guest's goal, to help inspire you to take a step into your journey of your life that is calling you. See, you no longer need to wait to walk the journey you're called to. It's your chance today to start that journey now. I am Braiden Belnap, and today we're so blessed to have Shirlé Shivers, who is a tarot reader, vision doula, and a content creator. Welcome to the show, Shirlé.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. This is so exciting. We've been talking about this for a while.
I know I'm so excited to be a part of this. I feel like it's the start of something so amazing. So I'm excited.
Of course. It's exciting because podcasts will last forever past me and
Yeah,
your that's
exactly.
necessarily something that's exciting to talk about, but it's cool knowing that this will live on forever.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about your vision doula and the concept of journey. Tell me a little bit about vision doula and what you do with that and how you help people there.
So, Vision Doula is actually something that it was a title that was given to me by one of my friends, one of my regulars who come into my life. Her name is Andrea. Shout out, Andrea. So, essentially, what that means is to help people bring their desired reality, like give birth to it, okay, energetically speaking. So, reading tarot, you come across a lot of people who have a lot of questions, who want to know a lot of answers, and they're coming from a place of not necessarily knowing or believing that they already have those answers within them. So, really, all I am is that support system that stands off to the side that kind of like helps you birth that, bring that to reality for yourself as a person on your journey, if that makes sense.
Of course, I love that. So out of curiosity, what's one of the main questions that you get asked as a tarot reader?
Ooh, okay. So, the main questions I would have to say, first off, they are always about relationships with other people, wanting to know if they're going to reconcile with an ex or if they're ever going to find love. And as repetitive as it is, I understand because, again, a lot of people come from this place of not knowing that they have the answers. They're looking for validation outside of them. So, I always, I always, as a reader, encourage people to definitely look within. Now, do people agree with that? Do I get the best feedback when it comes to that? Absolutely not, because people want their answers when they want it, and I'm supposed to be the one who knows. And it's like, okay, well, I do know. I do know that you know. Does that make sense? I know that you know. So I want to give you the opportunity to figure it out for yourself. So that way you're not constantly going and asking other people to help you out with your life.
I love
Right?
that you say that. And it really relates to two concepts that I really believe in. One, there's no plan A, B, or C, there's just a plan A.
Hmm.
And as long as you're not trying to relate, you're not trying to, I should say, you're not judging yourself against other people's journeys, then you're just going to trust your journey.
Exactly.
But also, life happens internally and not externally. So if you begin to look at life from the inside out instead of the outside in, you'll begin to trust yourself a lot more.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I say to people. That's exactly what I tell them. But um, I think it's something that you have to grow into, especially all things considered, their life, their lifestyle, the way that they've been thinking, their beliefs, where they're coming from. Um, that's not to say that people can't wake up one day and just decide to change their life and it just happens. I believe it totally can. But for a majority of us, it's a process. So I guess I could kind of say that I'm the one who sparks that for some people.
What I'm hearing is people come to you for answers, and
Mhm.
you have the power to say, this is your answer, but you knew this all along. And all the other questions that you're seeking, you also know those answers. You're giving
Exactly.
permission to trust themselves and to trust their journey, per se.
Exactly. That is exactly it. Just trust yourself.
Is that uncommon in tarot reading? Do you feel like most tarot readers give answers and hope that they come back? Hope
Yes.
customers come back to ask more questions?
Yes. Yes, I do. And that's not to throw shade on anybody else who reads and how they read. How you do it is how you do it. But yes, if you scroll down TikTok, you will come across readers who have the option of you asking a question and getting a yes or no answer. And that's fine. But for me, I don't think that that's helping the person that's asking the question, in my own personal opinion. You're looking for something that's inside of you and you're always going to think it's outside of you, and I cannot enable that. I'll support you, but enabling people, absolutely not. I can't do it. Mm-mm.
Of course. So I feel like people either love tarot or they don't like tarot. There's not a lot of gray space. So what do you feel like are some of the misconceptions of tarot?
Oof. The first one would be that tarot is evil and that it's demonic. um Taking it back to the whole topic on beliefs and what people believe, you're told that divination outside of church, this is such a sticky topic for me because I know people are so firm in their beliefs and they are willing to do whatever it takes to protect that. And I respect it, but it can come off as so aggressive and abrasive. But yeah, um, you're told that it's demonic. Your answers are with Jesus Christ. Only God knows the answer. You're summoning demons and you're leading all of these people down the wrong path and this, that, and the third. And that is not what I'm doing as a reader. That's not what I'm doing. Literally, all I'm doing is reading your energy. And even that sounds bad to people who are religious because it's like, well, you're still dabbling in things that you're not supposed to. But that's what I feel called to do. And aren't we supposed to follow our calling? Aren't we supposed to follow our passion? Isn't, I try not to get into arguments with people about that because there's no point in it. Your viewpoint on life is exactly that. It has nothing to do with me. I'm not here to change your mind, but also respect my boundaries and don't think that you could change mine because this is how I operate. Now, that's not to say that I'm not open to hearing your perspective. And if it resonates with me, apply it. Yes, of course, I definitely will. But trying to force feed things down my throat simply because I pull some cards, no, definitely not. Definitely not.
Well, beliefs are what make us unique, right? It's
Right.
we were all raised differently. We've all had different experiences. And even if three kids grow up in the same household, they still all three have different experiences,
Exactly.
all different beliefs, and we're all individual. If we all had the same beliefs, then we wouldn't have our own identities. And
Right.
last time I checked, God all wants us to be individuals.
Exactly. That is exactly what I say to people. But, some people's beliefs are so heavily attached to their identity that they'll do anything to protect it. So,
And generally, when you say that, it comes back to me insecurity. If you're
mhm,
so firm in your beliefs and you know who you are, that you don't have to question, you don't have to force feed your beliefs onto other people.
mhm.
Although somebody that is insecure with their beliefs is generally going to want to force feed their beliefs upon other people.
Right.
In other words,
Right.
the loud dog is usually the dog that goes running when another dog starts barking.
Exactly. And it's because you are, I think that people whose beliefs differ from somebody who's insecure, you are the human embodiment of the thoughts that they battle with internally. So when you tell them the opposite, it's a trigger for them. So they have to battle you on that because in some sort of way, I feel like they feel like they have to win because it's a never ending battle within themselves, and they're not able to win that by just shushing all of these voices that are telling you all of these opposite things. So you'd much rather, it's easier for you to do it with somebody else. It's easier for you to point in the opposite direction than it is for you to look in the mirror and point in the mirror at your reflection and say, you are the problem. You are the one who's focusing so much on things that have absolutely nothing to do with you. Nobody else's beliefs are harming you. If nobody's coming from a place of malice or ill intent, I do not think there's any reason why we should be getting into it with each other about our thoughts and our beliefs. But I will say it took me some time to get there because I used to be one of them. So I feel that's why I'm so comfortable speaking on the topic. I used to try to fight for my viewpoints and this is why I'm right and all stuff. I am right to me, though, and in my reality. It doesn't have to work like that in your reality, and that's totally fine. But reality is subjective, I believe. So what works for me isn't going to work for you, and vice versa.
Absolutely. And I love that
Mhm.
you bring that up. So let's take that a little bit deeper. You're confident now. What
Yes,
was there a time that you weren't confident, that you were down in the dirt?
absolutely. Absolutely. I was beneath the dirt. I was in hell. Like I lived there. And I was so insecure in myself that I forced myself to think that that's all that there would ever be for me. Um, yeah, I was in hell. I was living there, paying rent on time, and just thinking that that's all that life had to offer for me. And then getting into it with people who would try to tell me, you have the option and you have the ability to choose something completely different from what you're experiencing right now. Like, no, I don't. I don't. Do you see my circumstances? This is what it is, and it's so hard. It's so hard. And then when they would tell me about their experiences, but I've done this and blah blah blah. I don't care. I don't care what you've done. You're not me. I'm not you. This is different. And then they would just stop talking to me about it, and I would sit there in my own personal hell, feeling bad for myself, accepting this victim mentality. And it was because it was comfortable. It's because I was too afraid to move outside of that, because I was afraid of what was going to be on the other side. Like, maybe I am just this person who doesn't deserve anything better than what I am experiencing right now. So that's another reason why I say the things that I say to people when they ask me questions. It's my way of showing you, it's okay. You can come out. You can come out. You're hiding. Why? You don't need anybody else to do it for you, and no one else will do it for you. But you can come out. It's safe over here. It's fun over here. It's fulfilling over here. Stop arguing for your limitations. Yeah.
That's beautiful. So when was the moment? What was the moment like when you said, I no longer accept this victim mentality in my life?
The beginning of 2019 is when I started on like my spiritual journey, and started meditating, and really started welcoming and accepting the fact that I am a gifted person. Because for the longest time, I just put it to the side. It was just, crazy shit to talk about every once in a while. But 2019 is where I really started accepting it, when I started on my journey, when I started realizing and recognizing it can't be like this forever. Um, so I pretty much went into a hermit phase for like three, what year is it? 2023? 3, 4 years, almost 4 years now. Yeah. Um, when is the point where I realize that I don't need to be in victim mentality, or I'm not a victim, is somewhere in the middle of 2019. I realized it, but I hadn't fully accepted it until 2022. That's how long it took me. I could hear it over and over and over again, but it finally sank in, and I finally stopped being scared to take my power back.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. And if you're open to it, I want to reframe something that you just said. You mentioned that's how long it took me. And I just want to say you're so young because I've experienced as well, right? I was in victimhood and I went through all that.
Yeah.
I want to say baggage because it really is just baggage that's not yours. It was the world, what people have said, what people have done. And some things, as far as me, is I'll take responsibility. I created my own reality that was negative, that I created my own baggage as well
Right.
that I hid within the vacuum mentality. But the fact is that we're both young, which is
Mhm.
such a beautiful thing because unfortunately, most people never get out of it.
Right.
There's so many people in my life that are like, well, I would have succeeded in business if this didn't happen to me, or this, or so many excuses. And like you said, the moment that you hop out, seems like the light's scary, but it's really what opens your eyes to what is possible.
Yeah, exactly. It's uncomfortable.
So, if you're willing to, I would love to know what was the emotions that you experienced when you were in victimhood? What was your life when you were in victimhood? And what does life look like now that you're on the other side?
Obviously, the emotions with victimhood is just the main one was settling, I would say, just settling for whatever happened and feeling like life was happening to me rather than through me. Also, just lots of lack. I don't have enough. I'll never be enough. I'm constantly struggling to get to a place, constant focus on the future, also heavy ruminating on the past. But yeah, always just being in a completely different state than the present moment. And I would say that that is what getting out of victimhood feels like, being present,
Mm.
present with your emotions, allowing yourself to feel your emotions, not beating yourself up and trying to force yourself into a different mind space. Really just reparenting yourself is what I would say. Not saying that my parents were bad parents, absolutely not, but just being there for my inner child in ways that maybe I feel like they weren't there, you know? It feels like peace, a consistent flow of peace, even with the dips, because I know that those are only temporary and I don't stay there and I don't sulk in them for so long that it just affects me for weeks or months at a time.
That's a beautiful thing. I love how
Mhm.
you said being out of victimhood is being in the present moment because that's true. Victimhood's really making excuses for why you're not where you're supposed to be.
Right, right.
That's the day, or why a situation ended up the way that was out of your reality that you wanted.
That too.
So
That too. Constantly focusing on everything but you here right now in this moment.
obviously, you started to get into tarot.
Mhm.
You started to get into meditation. How else? What other tools did you take to really transform your life to where you're at now?
Yoga, I would also say journaling and just getting back to the things that I used to do, the things that used to make me happy when I was a kid. I lost sight of that too in my early adulthood. I still feel like 30s is your early adulthood. So,
Fair.
but like early 20s, even teenage years too, because yeah. So getting back to the things that I just kind of like buried underneath all of these responsibilities and buried underneath everybody else's expectations and their rules for how I'm supposed to live life and what I'm supposed to do, um, really welcoming that and really just feeling comfortable in my own skin. Again, allowing myself to process any emotions that come up and just feel because I used to run away from them and pretend to be somebody that I wasn't. But now it's all about realization. Yep, that comes through moving your body. Absolutely. Moving your body.
So, what are some of the things that you started to do to bring that childlike love into your life again?
Oh, dancing, getting back into dancing, singing, writing music. I used to write music all of the time. I had a literal song journal. I had a few of them. I quit doing that, but now I'm like, let's see what comes up. I've been producing little things here and there. Not ready to let the rest of the world hear it just yet.
I was
Eventually,
gonna
I'll get there.
say. Okay, well, I'll be looking forward to hearing it.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So, out of curiosity, what holds you back from letting the world into that right now?
Because I'm still trying to get comfortable with it on my own. I'm still trying to reestablish that connection with it completely because I lost it.
Sure. You're
Mhm.
you're embracing the moment by yourself before the world has any say.
Exactly. Exactly. Learning to be secure in myself and my belief about my craft before I announce it to everybody else and I let their viewpoints or their criticisms affect me.
Totally. As
Mm,
much as we like to say that, I should say it's easier said than done to not let the world affect you. But when
exactly.
you're fully confident, as going back to the past conversation, when you're confident with your beliefs, you don't necessarily need to force your beliefs upon others, and you don't have to have the validation of others.
Exactly.
So, how, if you had to talk back to your younger self that wanted this change but wasn't going through it, because truthfully, I know that a lot of the world is in that place right now. A lot of
Mm.
people are like, oh, I want this life. I want to be confident. I want to live doing my passion. To all of those people wanting, what would you say are their best steps moving forward to get into a place that they can start to truly live the life that they want?
First off, change your inner dialogue and the way that you talk to yourself. A lot of people's inner dialogue and their inner conversation is based off of the version of themselves that they're trying to evolve from. So you're constantly telling yourself the same story over and over again about why it's this and how you want to do that, but you can't do it because of this. Also, stop focusing on your circumstances so much. That becomes easier when you change your inner dialogue. Then, when you get to a point where you can literally feel when things are changing, don't back down from that. Don't back down from that. I think that everything stems from the inner conversation. So I'm going to bring it up again. Do not back down from that. Your feelings are going to come up and make you feel like you're doing something wrong or like this is something you can't actually do. It is the old version of you literally dying off. Let it do that. Let it. It's going to feel like hell. Not for everybody, but for those that resonate, yeah, it's going to feel like hell, but keep going because this is not permanent. Just like your circumstances, you have to allow yourself the opportunity to transform. You can't just be in love with the idea of changing your life for the rest of your life. That's all you're ever going to be is somebody who's dreaming of this instead of giving yourself the opportunity to live it. So do that. Do that. That version of you that you see in your mind, you are that person. You always have been. The only reason why you don't is because, again, that self concept, what the world says, what's being projected back to you, you can change that. It's taking its cues from you anyway. So be the main character that you are.
In other words, you can rewrite your story at any time you want.
Literally, you can do whatever you want at any given moment. Don't be an asshole, but you can do whatever you want. Yeah.
The best comeback stories are the ones that take a complete U-turn.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you
I
are the
agree.
asshole, you can take a U-turn.
Right, right. You do something about that.
Don't be an asshole. Be the hero that was the asshole and then turned yourself into good, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
There's enough hate in this world. We need more, better, good people spreading love, doing tarot, doing coaching that are the heroes. We need more of those people.
There's enough, yeah, there's enough fear in this world. A lot of people are scared. We need people who show you that it's okay. You don't have to, let me, I'm not going to say you don't have to be scared because A lot of the times, especially if you're changing your life, you're going to be scared. Um, but don't let that bully you. Don't let it bully you. Don't let it intimidate you. Fear is false evidence appearing real. It's not even real. It can feel like it is, though, and that's because so much of your energy and your attention and your focus is going towards that. You can redirect it at any given moment if you allow yourself to. So yeah, it's a lot of scared people, a lot of scared stationary people. We got to move past that.
I love that. And to speak to this, I want to give fear the name just for the purpose. There's a lot of fears, but I want to give this name. Uh, wow, how did that word leave my mind? Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, there we go.
So when you have that voice, your imposter syndrome is always future based. It's not current based because there's
Mhm.
nothing to be scared of right now because you know what it's like right now and you can see that you're safe.
Right.
Your imposter syndrome, if you're allowing that to get into the way of the future of who you can be or what you can do, switching it into giving it a name, you can give your imposter syndrome voice a name, you can give it a face, you can picture it as if it was a person, but you can also transform the language of that person of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring this up is because if you have a fear base that's saying you're not smart enough for starting a business or you're not qualified to start that clothing brand, what the imposter syndrome is saying is, I'm calling you to go become smart enough to start that clothing brand. It might
Exactly.
be pointing out your flaws, but if you turn that voice into, what is it telling me I need to go accomplish so that I can accomplish these goals?
Mhm.
It makes it almost a step-by-step process of what you actually need to do to go accomplish your goals.
Exactly. And that goes back to trusting yourself. When you
Yes.
trust yourself, you learn that even the negative emotions are guidance towards the things that you want. And I feel like I need to come up with another word for negative. I say this all the time in my life, but good emotions show you something, bad emotions show you something. They're showing you that you're focusing on things and aspects of yourself that are not true. It's not true. That's why it doesn't feel good. And I think a lot of people are afraid to feel good. You can feel good. Ooh, learning stuff myself still.
I love that. You can feel good. The two words I use is serving and unserving.
Beautiful.
So it's like if you're feeling negative or bad emotions that are unserving, ask yourself, how can I turn this emotion into serving? So if you have
Right.
anxiety for the future, like you said, I agree 100%. Emotion equals motion. So emotion equals motion. So if you're feeling anxiety, really what it is it's just a calling for you to do something. It's
Yeah.
not calling you not to do something.
Yeah. It's not there to keep you paralyzed, but people get scared. Get scared.
Switching that internal dialogue is important.
Exactly.
So let's go back to trusting yourself because the moment you start to trust yourself, you've said you're going to be okay to start to walk your journey. I
Mhm.
have a tattoo right here. It's my favorite quote. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step.
Right.
So, how do people trust themselves to start their journey of 1,000 miles?
Mm, honestly, how how did I let I'll base it well, all of this has literally been based off of my own personal experience. How did I learn to trust myself? Um, literally by thinking about all of the circumstances that I had been in which I trusted somebody else to be that guidance system for me and looking at the effect. How did it make me feel? What was the outcome? Where am I now? Did it better my life in any sort of way? Where was I after that? What were the affects the long-term effects of that. Like, I ask myself all of these questions. It starts with you. I, again, bringing it back to the self-concept and the inner dialogue, it starts with you being able to have an honest conversation with yourself. We, a lot of the times, we avoid that. We avoid it. That's why people are so into the distraction, social media, drugs, alcohol, all of that, because people don't like to talk to themselves. They don't like to be alone with their thoughts. So I think that you got to be okay with what comes up, especially when you meditate. When you first start meditating, you have to be okay with the purge. You have to be okay with what yourself says to you. You have to know what you want. You have to know what you want in life. What is it that you're looking for? What is the end result that you're trying to get to? My end result is I want to be this, I want to do that. Okay, cool. Why aren't you doing it? But I'm not doing it because I don't believe in this. And then all the traumas get uncovered. When you start letting the light in, all of the demons that are secretly hidden in all of the crevices and the cracks in the corners of your body have to be released. And a lot of people are afraid of that. They're so scared of that. Just like they're afraid of going into the deep end of the ocean, they're afraid of what's going to be beneath them. They're afraid to get deep with themselves because they're afraid of what is beneath them, this facade that they have on. You have to be honest with yourself. That's what I think.
I love that. So you feel like the best step for them is to really start to meditate, and even if it's just, in my opinion, even if you promise yourself 1 minute of meditating, just to start,
Yeah.
being okay with
Med-
that darkness, not jumping fully into the
meditating,
darkness, but taking it one flashlight at a time into the darkness.
exactly. Meditating or even just sitting down with a piece of paper for like 10 minutes and just writing out whatever comes to your mind, and then looking over it. Just write out whatever. Don't put any sort of stipulation on it. I have to write like this or it has to be this. Don't do that. The point is to free yourself. You feel so constricted and confined for a reason. You have to trust yourself to not do that. You step outside of the lines. You can color outside of the lines. Your picture is still going to be beautiful to you and whoever else gets that. There are definitely going to be some people who don't get that, but that is not your business. Who cares? They're just not where you're at.
And truthfully, all the people that are coloring inside the lines are generally living a normal life.
Yeah, yeah. And they're the ones who want you to color inside the lines too. The ones that bark the loudest, who um, call you all sorts of names for having conversations with them and expressing a viewpoint that opposes them. It's very much a crabs in a bucket mentality.
Absolutely. It's generally why people always color inside the lines, because their parents colored inside the lines, teaching their
Right.
kids to color inside the lines when they just didn't give their kid permission to keep coloring outside of the lines.
Right. And that all stems from society. Society tells you this is what you need to do. You have to do it like this. You have to go to school. You need to graduate. You need to go to college. You need to do this. You should get married. You should do all of these things. And that's fine if that works for you. Um, it just, I don't know. I think that we as people need to be open with figuring out what our own specific blueprint to life is.
Yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
And what comes to mind, there's a lot of things that come to mind when you say that. But ultimately, it comes down to trust too.
Yep.
Jay Shetty, he had a story. Have you ever read the book Think Like a Monk?
No, but it's on my list.
So it's, I wouldn't say it's like my highest recommended book, but it's certainly up there.
Mhm.
He had a story, and I'm not going to say it greater, so y'all will have to go get the book. But the story went, he just barely got to his, he was actually a monk for a while. And his, I don't know if it's called mentor or what it is, teacher, but he took him to a dirty room, like a really dusty room. And I'm just going to call it mentor for the sake of this story.
Yeah.
The mentor took him to a mirror and he asked, "Do you see yourself?" And obviously Jay Shetty's like, "No, I don't see myself." Then the mentor swiped the mirror and obviously dust went everywhere. He's like, "Do you see yourself now?" He's like, "Yes, I see myself." And the mentor explained all the dust on that mirror as what people have told you to be, what people have told you to do, what has happened to you, the circumstances you have created for yourself. It's all the things that has caused you to forget who you truly are.
Right.
But the moment that you're willing to see who you truly are is the moment that you have to prove yourself to nobody because you've proven yourself to yourself.
Exactly.
And that's the moment you give yourself permission to enjoy the journey that you're on. Because
Exactly.
everybody's here for a different reason. Okay, you would want to be a billionaire and you don't become a billionaire. That doesn't make you worse than the billionaire. It's just that he's on a different journey than you. And that's okay.
Right.
There's God's plan. There's no plan A, B, or C. If you stop trying to force your journey, and I don't care if you believe in God, the universe, whatever, the mountains, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
What matters is that you just become, as you said in the past, you're not a victim the moment you become okay with the present. As long as you show up for who you are as the best version of yourself and you show up for what is right, your life will always end up okay.
Every single time. Every time.
So trusting self comes down to beginning to look in the internal, is what I'm hearing. And I agree 100%, by the way.
Mhm.
Meditation. So let's create a couple of tools for them. Meditation, journaling. And I also love that you pointed out free flowing journaling because so more oftentimes than not, I'm like, journal. And people are like, well, I don't know how to journal. It's like, you don't need to.
Right.
The reason you haven't journaled is because you think you don't know how to, but there's no right or wrong way. So just start.
Right.
Let's see. What other tools do you have out there for people that would be good to help them start to trust themselves?
Um, oh, maybe getting outside. Yeah, being in the sun and grounding in nature always helps me too. How are you gonna get any sort of insight if you're constantly in a building, if you're constantly in front of a computer or a phone screen? So get outside with zero intentions. Just go on a hike if you'd like to. Sit, look at nature, watch how the animals just do what they want to do. They're not following any sort of rules. They're doing what they feel they need to do. I don't think, and that sounds a little bit weird because it's like animals are doing what they have to do to survive. And no, just because humans are in survival mode, it doesn't mean that we have to put that with animals. I think animals just do whatever they want. Um, Watch them, observe them, observe your surroundings, do something that makes you, um, that doesn't distract you, is essentially what I'm getting at.
Go hug a tree.
Yeah, kiss
It
it.
scientifically is good for you.
Right, right, right.
I love that. And overall, it just helps you being out in nature. So, fun fact, do you want to know why birds chirp in the morning?
Why?
Because when the sun hits the trees release a chemical, and that's what causes the birds to chirp. That's why you hear them chirping in the morning and no other. Not that they don't any other time, but a lot less.
Interesting. I never knew that.
And scientifically, you going on a walk in the morning around trees will actually help your mental health
I could see
because
that.
you're getting out into nature. You're
Mhm.
obviously the same chemicals around, and obviously it's just peaceful naturally.
Yeah, and the trees are alive. They're alive.
They
They
see
got
it.
something to offer you, all the foliage.
Of course.
Mhm.
I love that. one of my for anybody that is listening that feels they are meditating, journaling, getting out into nature, one of my favorite tools is immersing yourself into cold. Whether that's
Ooh,
cold shower, cold plunge. Obviously, cold plunge is going to be more efficient than a cold shower because it's a lot colder.
right, right,
But I feel like that is really trusting yourself. That's working on your spirit, your mind, and your body all at once.
right.
You trust yourself to
Regulating
do
your
that.
nervous system.
Yeah.
Hmm.
There's so many tools out there. And I think it comes down to trusting yourself, like you've mentioned many times.
Yeah,
What tool is right for you? Ask yourself that question. And obviously, I'm speaking to the listeners right now,
yeah,
but ask yourself what tool would be best serving for you. Would going on a walk best serve you? Would a cold plunge best serve you? With journaling, meditating?
right.
Everybody's going to have a different first step in trusting themselves. And if you want to try all of them, great, try all of them. Figure out which one you like, and from there you can progress forward. But
Yeah.
just start.
And do it without expectation. A lot of people do it with some sort of expectation that it's going to be a quick fix to um, whatever they're experiencing right now. It's not that it can't, but putting expectations on things, I feel, especially when you're getting started on your journey, is the quickest way to disappointment. So,
You say, tell me a little bit more about expectation. What are the and I guess a better question, what are the expectations you put upon yourself when you first started?
so me, when I first started, the expectations that, like, for example, when I would meditate, my expectation was that I would just be happy and peaceful the entire day and that nobody would bother me and all this stuff. But it was very surface level work. I was meditating to get a result instead of meditating to just be present, just allowing myself to sink into my body. Then when the opposite would happen, I would curse meditation like, this shit does not work. It doesn't work at all. Like, what is this? And then I'm like, you know, you have to do it every day. Okay, so I do it every day, right? And then I got to this point where I was kind of like depending on meditation, and then that if I didn't do it, that day would be so shit. I would be in a bad mood and I would just be so rude. And it's because there are things underneath the surface that needed to be addressed. I don't, we fall in love with instant gratification as human beings, I feel. And I can say that again because experience. I will never tell you what I heard, I will always tell you what I know. We fall in love with instant gratification. We want what we want when we want it. When you don't get it, it pisses you off. Or when you do get it, that instant gratification, it's very short lived. And then the next thing that you need to be instantly gratified by instead of being present, you know?
Love that. And I love that you bring up those expectations. I don't feel like that's actually talked enough in the personal development world.
Yeah.
Most people are like, do this, do X, Y, Z, and your life's going to change. And
Hmm.
it's, well, yes, you need to be consistent with it, but most people aren't talking about those expectations.
That's a trap.
Unfortunately, because I agree with you 100% that if I meditate, then I'll get this result today. It's
Hmm.
like you may get a result, although the result comes with consistent day to day work.
Exactly.
And then
Exactly.
after 3 months, 6 months, a year, you may not even recognize the power of meditation or your overall personal development, but you'll recognize the days that you don't do it.
Right. Right. I agree. I agree. The
You'll
days that
get
you,
used
yeah.
you'll get used to that peaceful feeling. You'll be like, wow, this is so nice. But
Hmm.
one day you wake up late and then you don't do it and you're like, oh no.
Yeah. You're like, "Ugh, I've been doing so good for so long. I missed out on this." And then you're being hard on yourself. It's like, oh, relax, 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 relax. Yeah, I don't feel like we need to be punishing ourselves so much. I mean, yeah, get meditate, but Don't beat yourself up, you know?
It's and then it goes back to expectations. If
Mhm.
you set aside 10 minutes to meditate each day and one day you can only do 1 minute, it's not, I didn't do my 10-minute meditation, do the 1 minute, and you still meditated.
Right.
Will it be as immersed? No, but as I found, a minute meditation can be just as powerful as a 10-minute meditation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's all about the meaning that you give it too. If you go into it with the whole mind, "Ugh, this is just a minute, it's not going to be that effective." Probably not. Probably not. It's about you. Change the way you view it. Change your perspective.
Of course, and I love that we're talking about this because so I often talk about, and this is actually going to be so efficient. I would love your perspective on this as well. But the fact is, our current moments are the most important moments, of course. But if we
Right.
allow our past moments, they will control our current moments. And it's simply because when you have a current moment or a past moment that was really enhanced emotionally with your thoughts, emotions, behaviors, or result you got, you attach meaning to that past moment. And if it something similar happens again, that's when it starts to become a belief.
Hmm.
From there, let's say you smell something, you feel something, you hear something, or you just naturally experience something. So we'll just go with relationships. In the past, you may have experienced something long term with a partner. And even though you want something in the now, you may date the same guy, just with a different name, right?
Right.
And that's a trigger. And the trigger comes from your past moment. And that trigger is going to create the same thoughts, the same emotions, the same behaviors, and the same results. And you have to consciously say, no, I want something different, recognize that pattern, and trust yourself to go find something new.
Exactly. Exactly. You got to trust yourself to let go of that because you're that's why being present is so important. Your body cannot tell the difference. Your body can't tell the difference between now and the past. When you are constantly reliving past experiences that you cannot get over, your body reacts the same way. Hence the reason why cold plunges are a really good thing to do. Your body reacts the same way. You have the same feelings, the same emotions. Therefore, just repeating the instance here in your present moment. So you do that, you have all of these beliefs, you create this narrative, you create this story that is going to be played out in your present moment because you're not trusting yourself enough to let go of that. You have some sort of attachment to that. Like it's a part of your identity. That's who you are. That's where that is why when I read tarot for people, I always tell them the power is within you. It's within you. You are going to get the same thing over and over and over again if that is what you're expecting. You are going to get this question that you're asking me right now. You already know the answer. You already know the answer, not only because you already know the answer, but you've been living your life the same way all the way up until this point. I know that because you wouldn't be asking me this question. Not that I don't like being asked questions or that I'm opposed to it, but I just know. I know that. So, since you're expecting the same thing, I am not going to be the one to change that because the power is not outside of you. You're going to get exactly what you expect. Let go of that. Let go of these experiences. Make peace with it. Yes, it hurt. I'm not saying that it didn't hurt, nor am I making light of people's situations and the things that they've been through. But what is it doing for you now? What's it doing for you? Nothing but repeating a cycle.
Amen. Wow, we could talk about this for hours.
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
it could go on for a very long time.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm a talker. I'm a talker.
So I want to I want to end with one call to action for the audience. If you could tell your younger self to do one thing, maybe it's meditation that's the most powerful tool. Maybe it was a frame of reference, but what advice would you give to your younger self with 3 sentences?
Me?
Like what putting yourself back into the past, what with 3 sentences, what advice would you give her?
I think that there'd be more so affirmations. It'd be affirmations, yeah. You are worthy, you are valued, and you are the main character of this story. That's what I would say. Very general, but effective nonetheless.
Well, everybody listening, know you're worthy, know you're the main character of your story and run with it.
Exactly.
Now, Shirley, how can we be of service to you? As in, would you like the audience to follow you? Where can we find you? Can we serve you any other way?
I was like, what do you mean? Like, do I need to
Send me
pay
$1 million. Here's my Venmo.
I'm like, yes, here is my Cash App. You want to get me a pizza? Yes. No, but you can definitely. I am mostly on TikTok. I go live. I do tarot readings. I am starting to expand. My handle is at Shirlé_Ann. So that is SHIRLE_ANNE on TikTok. It's also my handle on Instagram as well. If you would like a reading, feel free to hit me up. I am here for you.
I love that. And she goes live all the time on TikTok. So you guys got
Yes,
to join
check me out.
that. Shirley, you truly are a light to this world. I hope you know how amazing you are because obviously I see it, the world sees it, and we need more people like you. You're the hero in your story, and that's what you've been telling everybody all along. So I love that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Of course. Now, final question. What is your definition of a prosperous life?
A life where you're being your authentic self. That's it, I would say. I feel like that's pretty much an all encompassing statement.
I love that. It's powerful. And I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any last words for the audience?
Hey, y'all. Thanks for listening. No, I
Subscribe,
appreciate it.
follow.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for this experience and opportunity. Thank you, Braden. Thank you, Prosperous Life community. I look forward to seeing all of you thrive, honestly.
Of course. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you, Shirley.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Of course. And for anybody listening, thank you all for showing up today, truly. And if you're ready to have a community of support, if you're ready to take your trust to another level, to become your authentic self, as Shirley mentioned, and to really begin to create the life that you vision, I'm going to drop it below, but join the Prosperous Life membership. I coach you on a weekly basis. You get a community behind you, you get a course. And so you can truly start to follow the journey of trusting yourself more with how we talked today. With that in mind, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. Bye-bye.